Oh dear. Well, just got out of the Grand here in D'Iberville, Mississippi, and I saw I saw this crazy movie, Furiosa, a Mad Max story, I think it's called. Let me make sure, because of course this movie didn't have Mad Max in it, and that's the big complaint by so many people. First things first, it doesn't even give the name. It just gives the shorthand, Furiosa, rated R. Okay. What about this one? Nope, nothing. Looking at my receipt. I can see why this movie didn't do well at all at the box office. And I'm not saying it's an absolutely atrocious, terrible movie. No. What I mean is, I'm actually kind of curious about it. This is something that's going to be studied for quite a while. Why did this movie do so poorly? Because I'm catching one of the last showings here at the theaters near where I live, and it's going to be gone soon from here. And it probably won't be here next week or the week after. Meanwhile, Godzilla versus Godzilla times Kong, or whatever the title of it is, The New Empire, it's still here since March. It'll probably be gone soon too. But that's how poorly this movie did, and I'm kind of surprised by it, but not. I mean, it's a Mad Max story movie, but everybody knows Mad Max not in it, and so there's that, and there's the girl boss aspect of it, where so many people are programmed that over the past 10 years that you're going to see the most unrealistic physical feats performed by a young woman, all of 100 pounds soaking wet. And there's that. They knew that going in, and so maybe people stayed away. But there's something else that bothers me about this movie. You have to just really love, like, a Mad Max setting without Mad Max. And what I mean by that is the post-apocalyptic genre, where you hear people say, "Oh man, we're looking at economic collapse here. It's going to be Mad Max before too long." Well, that came from the Mad Max movies. What kind of world are you living in? And you just have to really like those kinds of movies to really get into this movie. And I mean, love it to the max. I guess I liked it, didn't love it. I already knew, because of all the horrible things I'd heard from different people online, that it's like a whole lot of nothing. But then I heard Aaron Clare. He said it was all right. It was an action movie. It was, and Chris Hemsworth does a good surly, sleazy bad guy. And I'll tell you, I came for the silicone nose. I stayed for the accent. I loved his sorry accent in this movie, Chris Hemsworth. And just to talk about him just for a second, so that I can at least talk about and know that I talked about at least one point. Like I said, I came for the silicone nose, I stayed for the accent. He's got like an outback-y crazy little way with all of his twitchiness, as his character Dementor goes. Dementus, what am I saying? He was entertaining. The young woman who was Furiosa, entertaining, so severe and serious. And the thing is, just to talk about what kind of movie this is, to really get the point across. I have not seen the original Mad Max trilogy, Mel Gibson. I haven't. One day I'm going to watch them. My folks, particularly my mother and my sister, they always said, "Oh, those movies are horrible. Never watch those movies." And I just got to take their word for it. There's some awful stuff in this rated R movie. And about 10 minutes in, I was almost getting kind of fatigued, thinking, okay, well, what am I really doing here? Because this is some awful stuff. It's a world of no morality or ethics, except for this. You start out with this hopeful imagery, the green place, where Furiosa's, this must be your sister, and then the way her mother chases him down and rescues her and stuff. It was a great start to the movie in terms of this super serious scenario involving just these two people. The thing is, and this is what was fatiguing to me, it was kind of jarring, is just coming in cold, just sitting down and watch this movie. It's like, why should I care about these people? I don't care about anybody. I see something that's bad that's going on, that they're killing people. They kidnapped this they took off with this little girl. Okay, that's bad. The brain knows that's bad as I'm watching the movie. And going in, I know this is about Furiosa. It's a prequel. And so I know that's Furiosa, the young girl. And I'm just sitting there, and I was just, it was just kind of almost phased out, thinking, I need to care about somebody before too long here. And of course, as you go along, you care about Furiosa. It's just the only time in the movie where I really started to care about some new character in the movie was, he's not so much the love interest. I don't even remember his name, but they were very clearly trying to make him look like a Mel Gibson, Mad Max sort of figure. Even in his look, he's the runner, or what, I forgot the term they used. He drives the convoy. He always brings back the booty. He's trusted. He's like a trustee in this whole world that's a prison. But yeah, just trying to give some of my first impressions here. I'm probably going to make one of my recordings like the old days and really just say the whole movie as I remember it. Thing is, I went to the restroom one time because of the soda, and I don't know what I missed as far as it was. Almost I was sitting there thinking, you know what? In all of the posters and the promotional whatnot, the trailers, it's a young woman. You see the young Furiosa. This is the kid version of Furiosa. It feels like we're almost halfway through the movie. We haven't seen her yet. It's like right then is when I needed to go take care of some business. And when I came back, and I don't know if that huge guy who was he was putting off the like the pedo vibes, and I don't know if he assaulted her or what. I'm going to go ahead and assume he did, because that's just the world you're looking at on screen. That's the kind of thing that's happening to, well, probably all these children who aren't super guarded for the purpose of being part of a harem or whatever. Everybody else, horrible stuff's just going to happen to you in this Mad Max world you're watching on screen. But yeah, let me go ahead and close this. I need to save a little bit of space for a couple more movies I'm going to watch. Hopefully I'm going to get The Fall Guy and also Godzilla times Kong good and watched before I head home tonight. It's my birthday, so I took myself out. Anyways, I'll be sure to add more to this. So till then. All right. I hope we're all set. I hope everything's good. Audio's good. I hope. Just checked it. All right, folks. I'm back home off the road, and I thought this would be a nice way to conclude this video. Let's actually get into this movie a little bit and actually talk about Furiosa, a Mad Max saga. I got to get this out of my system. Because just a quick thing. You're going to hear me say this if you haven't already heard me say this on this channel or on the now defunct YouTube channel. When I see a movie in the theater, it's burned in my brain. Like, I can't watch a movie on a phone. I've never done that before. I might break down here soon and watch a certain movie, Godzilla v Kong or Kong v Godzilla, whatever, on my laptop, just because it's not in the theater anymore. I wanted to see it. Go ahead and give it a watch. See if it's if there's been a slow digression further from how these monster movies have been going, in my opinion. Anyways, back to what I was saying. When I see a movie at the theater, it's in a dark theater with my Coke, my popcorn. It's just, I love the movie going experience so much. The movie's like emblazoned in my brain, and I got a lot to say about this movie. It's not going to be very well thought out. It's just going to be everything that I think and feel about it, and I'm just going to get it out here for the record, the way I do all these movies that I decide to give my thoughts on after the fact. So here it goes. What I want to do is, you know what? Like I said, this is disjointed. I'm just gonna say what's on my mind about it. There was something hypnotic about it, and it's in the marketing about what is her name? Anya Taylor Joy's eyes in this movie that they hypnotize you. They just hypnotize you. Part of the movie is me being hypnotized by Taylor Joy. Yeah, Taylor Joy's eyes. Furiosa. Young Furiosa, played by Alila Brown. She was very good. I'm always kind of iffy about kid actors. I'm like, is it really ethical to have children in movies? Anyways, Tom Burke as Praetorian Jack. They obviously did a little bit of makeup on his face to make him very obviously look more like a Mel Gibson Mad Max walking down the road there. Chris Hemsworth Worth as Dementus, and oh, I'll get to that. I got to get to him in a second. One at a time. What I'm going to do is to give this a little bit of structure. I'm going to look at the actors and who they played on IMDb, and that'll help jog my memory as to what I wanted to say. Okay, let's go first with Furiosa. Again, I'm looking at IMDb as I'm doing this. I was partly like hypnotized by her eyes during this movie, and they did that deliberately. They got the dark makeup up here. She's in blazing with her driving, with her fighting, with her all this stuff. And let me go ahead and talk a little bit about Chris Hemsworth and his portrayal as Dementus in this. I think that both of these actors, they'll obviously be the most two well known from this movie as the years go by in the future, looking back. I'm predicting major cult following, adherence, and appreciation for this movie. Big cult following, big cult, like there may only be a few people who like it, but the people who do like it will love it, that kind of thing. It's flopped at the box office. It's going to lose a lot of money. Whether or not there'll ever be another Mad Max movie is up in the air. It's in doubt. No matter what Tom Hardy or anybody else says, you don't know. People got to make their money back. And anyway, I'm predicting a major cult following for this movie. Unlike another movie that I saw that has something of a cult following, this is going to leave that one in the dust. What movie are you talking about, David? I'm talking about Arnold Schwarzenegger in Sabotage. I have not put my old videos up. All that's left of them is my audio recording I did of them, since that's what I had to do back in the day before I lost my whole YouTube channel. Anyways, I hated watching that movie, that stinking movie, Sabotage, on the big screen. And you're having to go leave Furiosa for a second to go down this rabbit hole to come back to Furiosa to explain what I'm talking about here. I wanted to walk out of the theater when I watched Sabotage. They, why am I even talking about Sabotage? I'm talking about it because of the cult following idea. A lot of people have ripped this movie up, Furiosa, but I'm thinking that Hemsworth and Taylor Joy have left such a unique performance mark. Chris, yeah, but also what you see on the screen from Furiosa, Anya Taylor Joy, it just becomes hard to watch. I mean, you see young actresses who they do one of these hardcore rough and tumble, all the persecution and trauma that they survive, and all this stuff. Case in point, in this movie, like I said, when I was at the movie theater and making my quick little interim note saying, "Man, this movie was something else." I don't know if the character played by Nathan Jones molested the character Furiosa or not. That's just the kind of vibe I was kind of getting from him, because I got up and left for two and a half, whatever, 3 minutes during the movie, unfortunately, right as she was cutting her hair off for the first time as a kid still. And he was in there starting to talk to her like, I don't remember what he said, because, like I said, I went out of the theater, but I'm just going to assume uh, she was violated. Hopefully I'm wrong. Maybe that's not what happened in the story. But that's just, everything else is happening to her. Her mother was kidnapped. She was ripped away from her whole world. There are people who have no value for life. It's apocalyptic. It's Mad Max. It's Mad Max time. Where's the gasoline? You got some food on you? Give it to me. That kind of thing is going down. And so, yeah, it's hard to keep my thoughts in line trying to talk about a movie like this because I don't usually watch movies like this. And I don't know if I'll ever watch another Mad Max movie because there was just something that was extra gory about this one. People are making these shorts now for Mad Max Fury Road, which I went on a lark. Like I said, I haven't seen the original trilogy yet. It's going to be a treat one day when I actually sit down and I watch Mel Gibson's movies, uh, Mad Max 1, 2, 3. But I thought, hey, they're making these movies again, and Tom Hardy's going to be the character that Mel Gibson was. I gave it a shot. When my family saw the trailer, we're at the movies or whatever, they're like, oh man, those movies are so awful. It's such trash. I'm like, I didn't I didn't get that it would be too much just from that trailer. So I went and saw it. I thought, it's interesting. Mad Max, the world that he lives in, it's something else. And you really are. It's a dog eat dog world. Absolutely brutal and just trying to survive. Looking back at it now, I just enjoyed that movie going experience more than this one. This Furiosa was all about the trauma that she experienced, and it just becomes hard to watch, and it is kind of a gore fest. Unlike I don't remember. Then again, I only saw Fury Road once at the movie theater. I haven't seen it since. Like I said, when I see something in the movie theater, it's emblazoned. I do forget some things over time, but I don't remember it being gory like this one was. Like not like just death. I mean, like the scene with Furiosa when she had lost her arm, torn away after the accident in the desert when Dementis is running down her and Praetorian Jack, and she wakes up and the woman's like, "Stay here, you will find peace here." Absolutely Nightmareville. Uh, her arm is gone. She's got maggots on it, eating the necrotic flesh off of her not amputated arm, just torn off arm, just absolutely nutty stuff. And when they first came upon Gastown, when Dementis had, well, it's like a horror movie. It's just like a horror movie when Praetorian Jack he sees the one of the devil dog looking things, the bulldogs that they use or whatever, had a human foot in its mouth, and he that was an alert. We've been had. This place is under attack. It's a trap for us. They start to get out, and all that she went through, because it's this is what made it's the last third of the movie that's really bothered me, and it is what it is. I'm just giving my honest take about it and what I think about it, what I feel about it. It just became so hard to watch as we finished up the movie when Dementis had taken Gastown or the Gas Fortress or whatever, and she didn't leave him. She didn't want to leave him. He basically signaled like the green smoke or whatever. Uh, Jack did that. Stop, get out, run away, retreat, and it was just the two of them. And she was going to do it, but she's like she couldn't do it because it's the only person in the world who's shown that they actually give a care about her and want her to go and be okay and survive without demanding anything of her, without making her a slave of one kind or another. It's like he was the only thing that was kind of decent in her life. She couldn't leave him, and so you're like, oh no, she's going to go back, and you just know some bad stuff's going to go down, and it does go down after they successfully escaped the fortress. All that they went through, that whole sequence, man, of Psychoville, Chris Hemsworth with the demented nose, often some of his own men along the way because he's so demented. The guy's in the gas truck, Praetorian, he's going around the place. Furiosa's getting here, getting there, fighting off a guy, getting in a sniper position to try and help him as he drives. Dementis gets the crane. He gets this huge monster truck so that even after they finally manage to escape, he's like, he's so enraged that they got away from him. He actually, I thought, what kind of scene is this? He's trying to ram the gate after they got through. Is this going to be a humiliation scene like, somebody open the door? No, it was full on rage at that point. He actually broke it down, and then they ran him down, chasing him through the desert. And then when they catch up with him and cause it a crash, man, this was the part of the movie where it was just, it's like a bad dream. It's like a bad dream. They the way he kills him, the way Dementus has his men chain up Praetorian Jack, said, let her watch for a while. And they chain her up by her half broken off arm. I heard somebody complain how when she first went, oh, like it wasn't nothing, like it was good enough for me, her acting, as far as she was caught. She was screaming while it was happening, and then when she got inside, she was just kind of in a shock. That was very, that's very down to earth and accurate acting, if you ask me. Her arm is basically broke. She's screaming when it's happening, and then when she gets inside, she's just like a shocked bird or something, just frozen. Anyways, back to it. It just, it was like a horror movie at that point, and I'm not a big horror guy because there are some sequences in horror, what movies I have seen, it's like when they dwell upon it so long, it does something to your brain, it does something to your mind. And I think they actually did a decent job of depicting that very phenomenon in Chris Hemsworth's character, because he leaves her hanging there. This is the thing, though. They're like, he's got like 30, 40, 50 of his minions going around the place. He releases the dogs to bite out and snipe at the Praetorian Jack, the only decent person in this thing, as decent as it gets in Mad Max world, who has befriended Furiosa, and they were kind of becoming sort of an item. They were going to try and run away. Maybe she could get him to the green place. At least that's what you're thinking. That's what she's basically getting at. Like, we're gonna ride all night, and then we'll take the bikes 3 days west, and we'll escape. Whatever she said as they were driving. Chris Hemsworth, Dementus leaves her hanging up there, and the dogs are biting at and sniping at the legs of Praetorian Jack as he's being dragged by a motorcycle psychopath all around the place. They did have him running. He fell. Get up, you scum! And he got back to his feet. And then when he went down again, didn't get up again. It just been he was drugged to his death with dogs. And by now you're thinking, these dogs have devoured this man. This is what kind of movie? What kind of movie is this? What kind of? It's Mad Max. That's all I can say. Like I said, I didn't see the first three movies. Maybe they allude to this kind of thing, but it seems like they showed some stuff here that it's like, this is just hardcore. It's rated R, yeah, but it's like, this is like a horror sequence when I thought it was action, apocalyptic thriller. What is Mad Max? Maybe somebody can tell me. I'm new to this franchise, as you can see. This is only the second Mad Max movie I've seen, and like I said, I haven't seen the originals. But it's like when the music starts to go all demented is the only way I can think of it, with the kind of almost like, what does it sound like? The way, what do you call it? The things that the wind blows them and they. Why can't I think of what they're called? You know what I'm talking about. Wind chimes. Wind chimey music mixed in with a little more demented music as Dementus has gone onto the hood of his truck on the other side from where Furiosa's being hung up for her death, I guess. And Jack is dead by now. You don't ever see him again, but you're just like, the good guy just got brutally tortured and murdered. And so there's Dementus, I almost said Cringeworth, Chris Hemsworth. He's like, and they dwell on that for like a minute of him in his demented, evil thing, because before he actually did that to them, he had this thing where he actually felt a little something. He was trying to compute it all. You two, as he put his hand on each of them. You can't be soft. We're tough. That's what he says in the movie. You can't be soft. There is no hope, he said. He's wrestling with all this stuff going on in his mind, in his demented, evil mind. He comes back around. Jack's dead by now. You don't see him again. And you're wondering, what's he going to do? The music's still going on. And by now, anybody who really wants to care for anybody in this movie, this story, who ought to be cared about, is like, you're feeling like Furiosa at this point. You're like just finish me off. He sees her arm there, her gory arm by itself, and the look on Dementus's face as he's like, he can't believe it. This is the unforgivable cinematic crime in this thing for me. It's like, how did she get by all of the 30 or 40 people who were just messing around and egging on Jack as he's being uh, 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 dragged to death? How did she get by? Demented on the other side. He's staring off into space with his, this is what I have to do to maintain order. You can't be soft. You got to crush your enemies. And he doesn't say all this stuff, but that's the stuff he says elsewise in the movie. He goes around, he sees, she's gone. How did she get away? There are dozens of people, or at least 2 or 3 dozen biker psychos, and his minions. Was History Man there? Who played History Man? The guy with the tattoos all over his face. As Big Jilly, played by C.J. Bloomfield. Smeg, played by David Collins. He was kind of a twitchy character. Vulture, played by Rahel Roman. Toe Jam, played by David Field. Fang, played by Matusa. Is that the only name he's got? Matusa? Anyway. Josh Hellman played Scrotus. And Nathan Jones plays Rictus Erectus. These names, somebody complained like that I listened to, is like, these aren't Mad Max names. These aren't Mad Max names. I don't know about that. I don't know that these aren't Mad Max names. Scrotus and Erectus. Rictus Erectus. I don't know that those aren't Mad Maxy names. I really don't. But back to what I was saying. How did she get away? And this is like the final act, leading into the final act of the movie. And then it just kind of goes into, like, he's lost her. How did she get away? Maybe that drew him over the edge even more. But yeah. Well, I want to make a note about that. Josh Hellman played Scrotus. He was in Fury Road. I remember his face. Like, did he get demoted or something? Wasn't he Immortan Joe's? He's Immortan Joe's son in this. But in the previous, which is actually after this one, does he get demoted or something? Because I recognize Nathan Jones, Rictus Erectus, because I'll never forget that scene from Fury Road where he's like, he's up there talking to people. He's on the front of the thing. He's like, I had a baby brother. He was perfect in every way. I had a baby brother. I don't know why that's burned in my head, but it just is. He's looking like he's got a little bit more of a tummy in this one, which happened years before. It's like these guys look older because they are older, but they're making a prequel. So I guess if Scrotus had hair in Furiosa and then he's bald and all white powdered up with the War Boys, like in he was in Furiosa, I guess at least that makes sense. But let me go back to what I said earlier about these shorts that people are making. I've been noticing them come up on my phone since, like, you watch one and then they recommend a dozen. Maybe because I was in the movie theater. It was 2015 or whatever, so it's been almost 10 years since I saw that movie. So no wonder I forgotten some of this stuff. But then again, when people make their little TikTok videos and junk, they add little things that enhance music sometimes, or make the dialogue that's said in these little few seconds long clips. It's like, man, this is when they go up and there's the mount of all of the steering wheels are mounted. Like, what a great scene. And that was what was his name? Let me go and talk about him, since I don't know if I ever did a review of Fury Road or not. Maybe I did. Maybe it's in the videos that I finally managed to get them from my Google stuff, and I'm going to be uploading them to this channel in the next few weeks, or whenever I finally get that done. But Nicholas Hoult as Nux. He was one of the War Boys. I remember that. He was an interesting character in that Fury Road. But let me get back to what I was trying to get at about the ending of the film, because the ending of the film is all that's really burnt in my mind. Yeah, you have this story of what life was like for Furiosa before the events of Fury Road and all the stuff, how the world is. This, you know what? Let me go in this direction. Somebody made the point that in one of their shorts that I watched today or whenever it was, that while in Fury Road, Immortan Joe was already set up as this established warlord. He's a very interesting looking dude. He's got cancer polyps on him or whatever. He's like Darth Vader. He needs this thing to really breathe successfully and not be overcome with whatever ailments are plaguing this man, with the horrible teeth mask that he wears and everything, and the hair. Whereas in this one, Chris Hemsworth, for all of his, it comes off as campy because his name is Dementus. And like I said, I went in cold with this movie expecting nothing. I said I came for the nose that they put on Hemsworth, and I stayed for the accent. And in my heart of hearts, this movie is always going to have Chris Hemsworth real voice. Yes, if you ever hear in interviews or in any other movie, it's all a put on. His Dementus voice is Chris Hemsworth real voice in my mind from now on. But I keep getting sidetracked wanting to get all these things said. Um, yeah, back to this. But in this movie, Dementus, you actually see him trying to rise to power more and more and go up against Immortan Joe. And hopefully somebody who's more sophisticated at editing than me and more on the ball with making the little memes and stuff will tackle this project. I got a project for you. You can easily use this movie and his dialogue, that is Dementus's dialogue of how he was politicking. He's a charismatic leader. Vote for me, or you'll be sorry. And then later on, when everything's going to pieces, and he's like, you know, things going bad, people hungry, people blaming me for all these problems. It was kind of hilarious if people weren't actually shooting each other in the head and, you know, stuff like that, and eating each other after the fact. But I want to say there's just a little touch of brilliance in that little bit of social commentary, just a little bit. It's gonna be great meme material, that's for sure. But I just wanted to say that Fury Road, it's obvious that Immortan Joe is set up as the tyrant who everybody that Furiosa wants to escape from and overcome, and she wants to escape with the slave wives or whatever to the green place. Okay, straightforward enough. And I will say this: it bothers me that I think somebody didn't think this movie Furiosa was strong enough when they made it. What do I mean by that? At the end of the movie, they have this thing where it ends by when Furiosa has done to Dementus after after all the history man's dialogue and his what's the word? Come on, David. An exhibition. Talking over and giving history, narrating but there's another word I'm looking for. There, the Saxons and the Romans, and it mentioned all these different wars. Now, the 40 days Gasoline War or something like that, and you actually see depictions of this 40 days war that are just, it's more like fatiguing stuff, like, oh, the war, it just never ends. The war, the war, the war, the gasoline, we have to eat, and all this stuff. That when she successfully takes off with that car that Scrotus and Rectus are trying to put together, trying to find a tire that fits, and the war boys are putting it on there, she gets in it, she rolls, and when she runs down, snipes off a few of Dementus's guys and has him cornered in the desert. The way she plays with him, she must have emptied his gun, covered him back up in the sandstorm. Then the way she follows him, this thing is drug out at the end of this movie, and that's what makes me think that this very slow burn stuff, the way it's burned in your brain, the way it's burned in my brain, I think it's going to have a major cult following as far as people who love the movie and what they did here. Because, like I said, Anya Taylor Joy, she accomplished what they were after here. Whatever the world and the box office think, whatever it is, what it is. She and Hemsworth pulled off what they were trying to do in the end of this movie. And you find out with his dialogue, like, "Oh, you found me. You're a freak. You never gave up. You're a freak." He tries to shoot her. It's empty. He tries to get away, and then she's going just fast enough to always keep the same distance from him, so that when he stops, she stops. When he tries to run toward her, she backs up in the car, and then he just falls to his knees. That whole thing at the end about how the more he talks about it, I can't give them back, give them back. All that emotion charged acting by her and Chris Hemsworth, with his unrelenting dementia. Like, I can't. I want mine back. I want my lovelies back. The bear that he's worn the whole thing. I can't get them back. And no matter what you do, you'll never. In a way, it's like so many other speeches that you've heard in anything similar, whether it's this kind of movie, this genre or not. And yet at the same time, the imagery, just like when I saw the trailer, I thought, oh man, these images, the cinematography, the colors, this movie looks beautiful. And it is. I just wish it were about good things and not this horrific tale of apocalyptic suffering and the land beyond humanity and all this stuff. I'm kind of disappointed with one of the guys who I listened to about this. He ranted about this movie, and he says at the end, after all this, she just shoots him in the head. That's like one of the possible endings, like we're watching Clue or something. When I watched the movie, I'm like, did she shoot him in the head or not? Because the guy who's narrating this thing, and I guess it's the history man from her childhood who was with Hemsworth the whole time and who told her as a child, make yourself invaluable to Dementus and he'll care for you always. The only good advice he could give in his own slave state. I got to give him that. But all she had on her mind as a child is these are the guys who murdered my mother. She's got to escape one day. Got to get back to the green place, and that seed that her mother gave her. That is some good stuff. That actually is some good stuff in this movie. The sense of purpose that her mother gave her in that, and it's kind of strange. What was she doing putting it in her mouth from time to time just to see if it still had flavor to it? Anyways, that ending speech with Dementus, you get to at least see why he is the way he is, that he is himself also a product of all the things that have happened to him. But you still see in Furiosa that you do have a choice. Are you going to become one with the brutality, or are you going to try and go a different path? I guess that is a little bit of a redemptive quality to this movie. It's just, it's like watching a war movie. I didn't see, I only saw little clips of that latest version of All Quiet on the Western Front. I got to watch it one day. I want to watch all those versions of that, of the novelization that they made, All Quiet on the Western Front. Something tells me that after watching Furiosa, it might be kind of tame at this point because of the way it's emotional. If you want to care about the characters that you're looking at, and they're all so taken away with the world that they're in and the brutality of it, anybody who's trying to rise above, you're going to love that person. You are. And that's why when you see Jack being drug around the place, you're like, it's like, man, I wish I hadn't come to watch this movie. I don't know that she did shoot Dementus in the end. The way History Man narrates it, it's like this tree talks about the man tree or whatever. There's a guy lying there, and he says, and this gave us our first fruit, but it's not for me. And it's a callback to when she picked the peach or whatever was the apple from the tree, with her sister at the beginning of the film, and she's going to go give it as a gift to the slave wives that she really relates to, that she really identifies with. And History Man's narrating it, saying, basically implying that that's what became of Dementus, that's what his fate was. And yet that guy, all emaciated and suffering there, with a tree growing out of his midsection, it didn't look like Hemsworth to me. It looked like another guy. Who knows? It's like who really knows what happened? Because he also alluded that the things that she did can't be spoken of. But there was another. It's like, okay, what happened? It's like up in the air. What did she do to him? It's interesting. It's interesting the imagery that they present right there at the end. But getting back to the point of what I said, like somebody must not have thought this movie was quite strong enough. Why do I say that? They have so many callbacks at the end to all the events of Fury Road when she's hijacking, she's creeping around, getting ready to hijack the gas rig and smuggle the slave wives out of there and everything. I don't think they showed. You know what? That's kind of sorry. I don't think they actually showed Charlize Theron. Charlize Theron in that. It's like, okay, for this particular movie, this is our Furiosa over here. We're not quite ready. Just like, come on. They didn't show her, I don't think. You see, I'm gonna get his name right again. Nathan Jones' character. I'll never forget that scene in Fury Road. He picks up the engine out of the hood, and that's the end of Nicholas Holt. Nux is driving at that point in the movie. So yeah, it's it's kind of a bittersweet thing. You see that ending montage, like, okay, you know what happens next. Fury Road. She helps. It's like what she was building up to in her life, to do something good for other people and fight back. She smuggled them out, and really, the whole Fury Road is basically how a rescue mission went awry, but then came back around with the help of Mad Max. So it's kind of interesting if I look at it like that. But again, all I can think as I was leaving, I not to be too graphic, I had to use the restroom again. The soda was going right through me in the movie theater, but I was on row E where there was plenty of space because there's this catwalk thing. There's like a handrail right there in front of you with plenty of room to stretch out. And I'm just looking up as the actual credits began to roll after the that little ending montage with scenes from Fury Road of what Furiosa did and the crashing through the canyon and all this stuff that happened. Just a few little scenes of it. The music that began to play, and just thinking about, I want to get her name right again, Taylor Joy. All that this character went through in this movie, this music just, as I'm looking up at the screen, all black. There were like two other guys with me, one up there, one up there, watching this movie, and I wanted to sit there and listen to every bit of that music because it went so well with Furiosa, the character in this particular movie. It was like haunting. It's like I felt like I was haunted. You know, I just a few seconds before, I was like, man, this has been quite a movie in a memorable, if traumatic sort of way. But it's like it was so beautiful, that music at the end, and I don't mean beautiful like in a classical music sound. I mean, it was just, it went along, the power of it went with what had just ended in the movie. And like I said, I don't know if I'm going to watch any more Mad Max movies after. I'm going to go back and watch the originals one day, but this this has been something else. I don't know why they said they thought this movie didn't do well. Was it because people were so fed up with so many young heroines, not even young heroines, but full on, uh, what have they been calling them forever? Now my mind's a blank. Whatever this super character is, Mary Sue, indestructible young woman, just all powerful, just knocking baddies around, killing the enemy, just winning the day like it's nothing. So unrealistic that they were like so fed up, like, oh, now Mad Max is going to do this? No thanks. And so they didn't come to the theater. Or was it something about this movie that got word of mouth going to where they said It's like it's a whole lot of nothing. But I enjoyed the movie enough to say I'll never forget it. It's I can't believe that there's something about the gore in this movie that just I don't know if it's the way they lingered on it or what, but it just seemed like it was a bit much, and that's what I was thinking. I was like, this movie would be like trying to escape Jerusalem in 70 A.D. if you had a few gas powered vehicles and you could actually run away without being swamped by other people trying to escape the apocalypse. That's this movie was just nonstop, and you don't know what else is going on in the broader world. It's like it's so dreary. All you know is what's right around you. There's no Christian religion. There's no hopefulness. All there is just surviving, and that's what makes it so bleak. All that she went through, man, it's just unbelievable. Like I'll end by saying this: very memorable flick, but doesn't have any rewatchability with me at all. Anya Taylor Joy eyes mesmerized me the whole time. Chris Hemsworth, what do we have here? Or whatever he said with the nose. The nose was speaking. Oh, it was, he. Hopefully, it won't hurt his career too much. But then again, Chris Hemsworth, I was blown away by his performance in Thor. Not that it was some Oscar-winning thing. I just thought, man, this guy is Thor. Thor, one of the big three Marvel cinematic things. And like the next movie he did or so that I never watched, but I saw the clip online, Cabin in the Woods or whatever it is, where his character goes, "I'm gonna go get some big guns and come back here and rescue you guys." That's all I saw. He flies off the cliff in a motorcycle because he thinks he can make this jump. Nope, splat up against an invisible electronic wall or whatever. And I'm thinking, this guy is Thor, and then he plays in a movie and does a part like that. What? So actors and actresses take all kind of movies and they play all kinds of roles. It doesn't really matter sometimes. You gotta have an interesting role that surprises people every now and then, I guess. Is there anything more I can say about the middle of the movie? What in the world happened? Like I said, all I can really remember is the last third of the movie. Mother dies because she went back. She didn't want to leave her mother. She wouldn't have been captured if she didn't love her mother and want to take her with her. Well, there's that. So then they just snatched her right up. Her mother wanted to escape, but she didn't. And so then she went into slavery because she went back to she wanted to be with her mother. She wanted them to let her mother go. From the beginning of this movie, man, you see people knocking each other off like it's nothing. People who are supposedly on the same side, like the same tribe or whatever, the same clan or family or whatever you call it in Mad Max world. The guy betrayed the other guy. He's like, "She's mine. I'm gonna get the credit. I'm gonna tell Dementus where I found this unspoiled child." Like, where did you find the other guy? Wants the credit. The next time you see the first dude who got shot at and brought home the booty, this kid from who's not deformed or diseased from wherever they have to go and scavenge. He's got his throat slit. I think they must have slit his throat before they brought him in there. There's Chris Hemsworth there. He's sharp as a tack in his miserly, cruel, crafty. He's like, and where is he? Where is the one who actually did that? It was good. Chris Hemsworth was good. He played a sleazy, snarling, evil guy pretty well in this movie. Oh man. Can you make it epic? That's the question. That's the ending line. I want to keep talking, but I can't. It's been 42 minutes. I guess there's just nothing else jumping out at me. Oh well, there is this. Let me. The War Boys are insane. You need to look up a channel on YouTube if you don't know who the Key of Awesome is. I don't follow them regularly now, but a few years back, I watched like 10, a dozen of their little skits. The Key of Awesome. Funny YouTube people. I don't, I'm not with them. I'm not promoting them. I'm just saying they are who they are. They have some funny skits, and one of them was like a parody of Batman. And the lyrics to that song that the guy is singing in the Key of Awesome is the Joker. It's the Dark Knight. It's Christopher Nolan's The Dark Knight, and they made a parody song of it. The guy's like, the Joker's men are psycho and expendable, yet somehow completely dependable. It's a good rhyme, and you're like, yeah, they are. The Joker's men have nothing on the War Boys. When you see these guys suiciding in the whole oil rig crash, when Furiosa and Jack are under siege, and the War Boys are trying to protect them because they all work for or are slaves to uh, Immortan Joe and this rival gang. I guess it was the Dementis guys, but I don't know if they actually clarified that that's who it was at that point. We'll just assume it was Dementis' crew. Man, it is cartoonish, and it actually took me out of the movie just a little bit, thinking, no way. Are people? Then again, you look in the real world sometimes, and maybe it's just me that doesn't identify with insanity, but the idea of suiciders doing that kind of thing in that vein of just like Nux in Fury Road. I'm waiting for me in Valhalla as he's gonna run his car into stuff. These guys are jumping under the wheels of this 18-wheeler tanker. They're getting blown up. They're doing somersaults. The guy is like, why is he stopping him? Why is he stopping Furiosa from catching the gun? It's because he wanted to look in the camera, say something quirky, and then do a somersault and suicide himself when maybe he didn't necessarily have to. That whole thing, I will say, yeah, that's a gripe with me right there. They could have easily cut that scene, sequence down, literally, had them doing less crazy junk and just slowed it all down a little bit so that you could actually see exactly what's going on with each person, add more tension. I imagine the older films are like that. I can almost guarantee it. I haven't seen them, but I can almost guarantee that is the way the older films are done. Slow down. You can do more now, and so they do, and it just waters things down. There were several scenes. I'm like, okay, you need a wrench to do what now? You need a pipe. What's broken? And the kid with the kind of deformed head. He's like, oh my, I don't know if it was whatever, the child who had kind of a big cranium, who tragically was shot at the very end of it, and Furiosa is looking down, and you're just wondering, what is she thinking? Is it the way she looks at him, and it's all over? The only people who are left are her and Jack at that point, I think. Maybe another woman. I don't know. A bullet got through the tanker, the hatch of that thing, shot the kid in the head, and she's looking down at him amidst all the cabbages, the food they were transporting, and it's like, is it like, does she feel sorry for the young one who was only just starting out, or did she feel nothing? You don't really know at that part of the movie, if you ask me. It's like she feels something. Again, the whole thing with her in this movie is largely emoting through her eyes because she doesn't want to say anything. She doesn't speak to these people. She's on lock because of her childhood, just like a lot of people who have been traumatized. Not chatty Cathy's, and she did a good job. She did a good job of this, and that's another reason I think she is going to be. I don't believe this is going to hurt her career at all. I only say things like that. People are tearing up this movie, and I know it's lost a lot of money, but for a Mad Max film, I don't know that it was as bad as people are saying. But then again, what do I know? I'm not an actual Mad Max mega fan. I'm not. But I just wanted to say that when I saw that part, I thought about the song from The Key of Awesome as that was happening in the movie theater. I'm like, these guys are just just dying for fun. It looks like the Joker's men are psycho and expendable, and yet somehow completely dependable. They got nothing. The Joker's men, the Joker's guys have nothing on the War Boys and Mad Max. Okay, let me stop now. That's enough. I could go on about how the whole scene with Dementor's trying to do a deal, trying to actually have a little tete-a-tete, a negotiation with Immortan Joe, uninvited, as though he's on equal par with him, because he's like that. He's very assuming. He's like, I'm taking over this junk, and then he's like, well, we'll be equals now. I'll be the guardian, and he gives himself he gives himself these grand titles, and it makes it that more hilarious because he is demented, and it makes it hilarious. It makes it great, unless you're living under it in that movie, in which case it's absolutely terrifying. When Morton Joe asks Furiosa, is he your father? And she finally says something. She says, no. Killed my mother. And the quirkiness, the twitchiness of Chris Hemsworth, he's like putting up his nose and stuff, and look the way he looks at people, and twitchy. Such a good job of doing the twitchiness, the psychotic twitchiness, the whole thing. He looks right at her, gets down, he takes the bear back from her. I'm like, oh my God. Oh man, this movie, yeah, just a little bit traumatized by the 40 Days War and the gore, but apart from that, it just it was a horrible death that the character Jack died. Maybe it's nothing compared to some of the three early movies. I don't know. I guess I'll find out one day, because I got to do a marathon and watch all these movies just for the sake of getting them watched and looking at what Mel Gibson looked like as a young man. Anyways, that's all I got. I've gone on for 48 minutes, and Furiosa, a Mad Max saga. Mm. Like I said, I probably never watch this movie again. I don't know if I don't know if I could do it, but I don't have to. I'm never gonna forget it. It was quite a ride. But again, I think I like Fury Road and the hopefulness of the overall message in the end, rather than this one. It just felt so bleak. I think, you know what? I think that's why they did that at the end. Maybe that's why they did it. Not that they thought the movie was weak when they finally had everything done, or like, we can't go out on this. We need a little bit of hopefulness. And so they go ahead and fast forward and show you, well, don't forget, we've already made a movie about what she did. It's not all bad in her world. Look at what she was able to do when she just faced her fears again. After all she'd been through, she got them out. She rescued these women. And Tom Hardy as Mad Max tried to help out a little bit. And wait a second. Did they say in the Fury Road she was trying to get to the green place? It's been like 10 years since I saw the movie. Did that woman, did they say like the green place is gone? I think they did. Oh man, I'm gonna have to go back and watch that movie. What a bummer. It's gone. And because I'm remembering Tom Hardy's speech now about how you can't run away from, that was like his one thing he said in the movie. He's looking down, like, you can't run away from, you can only deal with what you got, or whatever the speech was. And so then they go back and they take over in Morton Joe's place. And I always thought, man, what a like, Tom Hardy was that Mad Max was like a sheriff. He's done his good deed, and at the end of Fury Road, you see him just kind of looking back, and he doesn't wave or anything, but Furiosa sees him, and they just kind of nod to each other, like he's leaving, like, farewell. I have no home, and this isn't my home either. He's still trying to get somewhere where, I guess we'll never find out. But or maybe it's all in his own mind, his own heart, where he's trying to get to. But he can't just stop and call that place home. I thought, what an interesting ending.
But when they started up with all the girl boss stuff, I reassessed that recently, and I thought, you know what? So many people have said they should have said Fury Road was actually Furiosa's movie, too, because of how prominent Charlize Theron's character was in that. So I thought maybe George Miller and all these guys, maybe that was actually a prelude to a big girl boss movie, like Mad Max. He already did his humble bow out. He survived to tell the tale again after all the events of Fury Road, and then he's vanishing into the crowd, and it's kind of sad, but it's like it's meant to be. It has to be this way or something like that. But now you see Furiosa, and I, I'm kind of sad that such a it's an epic film. I think I consider it an epic film that it didn't do nearly as well as they needed it to. But like I said, at the end of it all, I was just looking up at the screen, wishing I didn't have to rush off to the restroom because at the end of this movie, after everything she had been through, all the clips of what Fury Road, just fast forwarding Fury Road basically to show you uh, this isn't all of her life. Don't forget, she goes on to rescue some people and does something really good for the people for lots of people in that film. And it's like then you come back to yourself and you're just thinking about what all you saw her go through in grueling detail, and then that music starts up, and I'm gonna have to listen to it sometime. I gotta find it on YouTube or whatever I gotta do, and I gotta listen to it because I didn't have time to listen to it in the movie theater. I had to run, but I just was thinking, I don't want to leave. I want to listen to this music. I want to listen to this music. I want that character on the screen to be all right because you do give a care at the about these this handful of people amidst these hundreds, maybe thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands in Australia. You don't know about the broader world uh, in Mad Max. You just know about the Australian uh, wastelands. So it was like a bittersweet thing in the end. And like I said, don't have to ever watch it again because it's burnt in my brain. And with that, I'm not going to let this go for an hour. Thank you so much for watching, folks. Especially if you listened to me all this while to let me run my riff about this crazy movie. And let me say, you're much appreciated. Your eyes, your attention. I love talking about movies, and I've talked about this one to death. So, till next time, thank you for. Why am I holding this glue? Let me put the glue down. Till next time, folks. Thank you.